Okay.
We're good? All right.
Good.
I'd like to call the January 30th, 2020 Village Council work session meeting to order. First up, we have adoption of the agenda. Do we have any removals or additions? Anything?
Can I suggest one thing? Sorry, I only caught this yesterday, but in the items of discussion, we have a few people like presenting stuff. So can I like ask if you could move a few items like to later, so the people who are presenting stuff could be up first?
Especially if we're paying them by the hour.
Yeah, I don't think we're paying either of these people, but so can I recommend that we move 3, 4, 5, and 7 to be after number 9?
So 9 goes first?
No.
1 and 2 go first.
Yeah, and then 6.
Then 6.
And then
okay, 1, 2.
Okay, hold on a minute.
Okay.
What do you want?
if we could shift the items that don't require the people that are coming,
What are the items that need?
I'm asking if we could shift 3, 4, 5, and 7 to be after number 9 in items of discussion.
No.
Three's AMT's here for 3.
Oh, AMT's here for 3. Okay.
I've looked at
Wait,
the
3?
AMT
This
is not
is-
here.
No,
this
in
is-
items of discussion.
This is on by.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry.
So we're moving 3, 4, 5, and 7 after 9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that okay?
All right. So we've got I need to add a couple things. So,
Okay.
but I guess okay.
We'll just add it after then.
After 9, I
10.
guess.
After 10.
After 10. All right. So 1's gonna be 1, 2's gonna be 2, 3 will be 3. Then
No, 3.
No.
I'm
One.
sorry. 6 will now be 3.
Yeah.
3 will be 4, 4 will be 5, 5 will...
All right. Shushi. 3.
I got it.
4 is gonna be number
Okay.
7.
Yeah.
Do we need number 7 here?
Okay, I'll go through I guess I'll go through it. So 1 will stay 1, 2 will stay 2. 6 will be 3.
Okay.
8 will be 4.
Okay.
9 will be 5. 3 will be 6. 4 would be 7.
Hold on. Okay.
5 would be 8.
Okay.
And 7 would be 9.
And 10 will be 10.
10 will still be 10.
Okay.
Okay, what do you want to
And
add?
then 11, I'd like to do a rules of procedure change. Rule number 41 about how we appoint our boards. And I've worked up some language for that, so
Okay.
we can talk about that. And then number 12, hiring Austin as our intern. We need to direct Christina to do that.
Okay, anything else? Need a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next up, we have presentations fiscal year 2018-19 audit. That would be
Lee.
Lee.
Where do I go?
Wherever you
Make
want.
yourself at home.
It's right
Stay
here.
Yeah, you don't have to stand and you sit up here.
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Make yourself comfortable.
And if y'all recall these books that we passed out, that's what he's gonna go over if you brought those.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Where are they?
He's not gonna go over a whole lot of detail, but if you have points that you wanna question out or if you
Yeah,
want to
I'll pass my cards around in case you look at the report later and have any questions. We go that way.
Okay.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Here to present June 30th, 2019. We actually issued this report in October, so that knocked the dust off to get ready for this presentation. The good news, it was a clean audit. There are 2 audit opinions in the report. There's a financial statement audit opinion, and there's an internal control aspect audit opinion that we go through the internal controls. Couple of housekeeping items. We had no disagreements with management during this engagement. Chris, who's now in Georgia, I believe, working with you guys part-time or remotely, she was the primary audit contact this year. She has an audit background. She was terrific, very organized. She helped a lot putting the statements together, so I was very impressed with her. This is the first year we audited the village, so this was a new client for us, but went very smoothly this year. with the help of Chris and then Christine as well with her help. We had no disagreements with management, like I said. We found no illegal acts, and we did not consult with other auditors. There is one finding that I wanted to talk about. If you do have the report, it's on page 45 and 46. I think you guys need to get familiar with this finding each year going forward because the village is so small, there's a limitation on internal controls. So to really have proper internal controls, you need a pretty big group, larger than this. So smaller municipalities generally are going to have this finding. It's a segregation of duties finding. So you see it on page 45. There's a corrective action plan on 46. I don't even know what that says because the corrective action would be to hire a bunch of people. I doubt you guys are going to do that. So I didn't read that. But that is Christina's response to the finding. But again, you got to have segregation of duties the way it works. People who collect cash should be separate from the people who record. And then you should have somebody kind of reconciling on top that's not involved in any of these aspects. So that's the gist of it. Do you have any questions about that finding?
So, in the past, I always remember, like, anytime there was a law or someone who has been removed or something that did sign checks, that we were asked as a council to come in, fill in for that position. I assume that's acceptable, to have any council member for that. Where did we miss something there that we didn't? Because I thought we were always very good about, and even having a backup as well.
We've had this weakness for years.
We still practice that same, Kim comes in and still checks over everything that we do, and we still have the same findings.
Okay, so now you're doing, because I was asked to do that before, but.
I've been doing it since I got on.
Okay, I know I was asked to do that, but we're good
I'm
there.
still doing
So right now we have.
It's more internal staff doing it, is what we're missing. It's because we don't have, it's because we're a small
Enough.
staff, yeah.
Right.
And good oversight strengthens controls, but still there's just a limitation, a weakness.
Yeah.
That something that would take a little longer for something to get caught.
Okay.
And the audit helps, but it's only an annual thing. So if you're looking at things, somebody's looking at things monthly, that's going to strengthen controls. But
I thought we looked at things monthly.
I do, but he's talking like you have one person that handles the cash, and you've got one person that's looking at, like, that is staff that is doing this like basically daily. And different people, so like you would have like a big finance department, which we have, maybe 2, 1.5.
So our fault is we're small.
Yep.
that's right. That's right. And that's the only finding.
But we've had this for a number of years.
Well, actually, I'm not sure your last auditors had that in their report.
Really?
But I don't think
Well, 2 years ago we did.
In the past, we have our tax collector that does the deposits. I do everything else. So I think the segregation is there. I just don't understand how much more segregated we need to be.
you're
Because
limited.
not the same person
you're-
does the money.
There's nothing, I mean, I wouldn't say just forget about controls because you're smaller. It's not saying that. It's just saying they're just, to fit this definition that we're looking for, there's just not enough staff. So you're just gonna have this finding, I mean, unfortunately.
We should have had it in the past. I mean, some auditors call things and some of them don't, so it should have been.
I know we've had it in the past because I've seen it in there. It may not have been last year, but we've had it in there.
But minus the extra overhead to do it, what we're doing is.
Correct.
All right.
Can you give me a percentage of how many smaller municipalities you see with this
It
finding?
should be all of them
Okay.
smaller. I mean, it would be.
So everybody's
It would be
in the
very
same
unlikely,
position.
yeah. So moving to no further questions regarding that. From a financial statement standpoint, your general fund, if you do have the book, I can flip to the page 16. I know this is the past, so you guys, who knows where you are now, but page 16 is basically your income statement for your governmental fund. So you see your general fund, if you see the revenues, expenditures. There was a net increase in your general fund of $166,000, which that's good. Your general fund is your main operating fund for the village, and then your capital project fund actually had a negative $182. And that's related to those road expenditures, which were all budgeted. So we can flip to that project fund separately in the back. It's page 40. And you can see the activity in that project fund for fiscal year 19. In my understanding, and that looks like it was primarily funded from past general fund transfers into that project fund.
And I'll just make one note, if y'all recall,
40.
we actually closed out that capital project this year, so you won't see that in subsequent years. We're actually gonna keep that in general fund as a reserve, so it'll be reflected differently in next year's audit.
But all of those expenditures, you see it's 477, or roughly 400,000 in expenditures, and they were on road improvements. But that was all budgeted, so. And then other information, tax collection percentage was extremely high, 99%. That's terrific. There was no new debt issued this year, no significant fixed asset additions. Current ratio on the balance sheet is terrific. Your current assets relative to your current liabilities are 38 into, if you take that ratio, that's a pretty strong balance sheet that the village has. Let's see. There's anything else? Oh, your unassigned, I'll show you also a metric that local government commission likes to look at. If you go to page 14, on page 14, you can see a section of your fund balance, which that's essentially the equity for the village. That unassigned amount, 626,000, that's an important number. Kind of look at that as your emergency money that doesn't have any other restrictions for it. But that 600,000, if you take that into the net page 16, the total expenditures. If you look at that number relative, that 600,000 relative to the 950,000 total general fund expenditures, that ratio is 66%. So that represents an 8-month reserve. So that's an important number. The local government commission likes to see 8% is 1 month. So if you divide that, that's how that works. So 66% is roughly 8 months. At a minimum, you want to see 1 to 2 months. So 66% is a good place for the village. And the smaller the municipality is, the larger reserve you want, because say if it's City of Raleigh, the expenditures are so high, it'd be really hard to have a reserve to cover that many expenditures. But the smaller you are, you want to have a higher reserve. So any questions so far? So again, clean audit opinion. We went through all the books. We felt fiscal year 19 was good. Oh, the last thing I didn't mention, there were 3 findings last year, and it does not include the finding we discussed, but those 3 findings were all cleared up and corrected in fiscal year 19. So I think one of them was, I think there was an issue not adopting the budget on time. I think there was some craziness. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but some stuff the year before.
That's a kind word.
And I think there was some spending over the budget in fiscal year 18, but I'm surprised because Chris is so, you guys, it's super
That was
strong.
a capital, if we had moved money straight from revenue to capital without.
Transfer.
Through general, yeah, so that's what that was.
Okay, so all 3 of those findings cleared up, and then we added a new one that wasn't there last year.
So we cleared up, so I know the concern was because we didn't pass the budget on time, that kind of gave us a, not only slap on the wrist, but also our possible inability to borrow money should we see it for a capital expenditure like the village town hall or something like that. So is that now, are you saying that there's a clear path now for us to approach, because I think there's a process that we go through to get that funding if we needed it for anything?
Should be good now.
He's talking about LGC approval.
That's it. I didn't know the terminology, but you don't see any concerns there?
And we've spoken to LGC too, and they said after this audit, we should be good, so.
Okay.
And the only other thing, and I could have left here without saying that, there was some litigation expenses that the general fund would have been in even better shape. I mean, it increased by 166,000 this year, but I think it was 75 to 100,000 of some litigation. So that would have made the year even better, but, maybe that.
Can you
But
repeat
that was a long time ago, that was a long time ago.
Can you repeat that, what we spent additionally, and just for the record?
We did-
166?
Oh, no, that was an increase, sorry.
Increase.
That's good, that's.
Of 166,000.
But it would have been even higher, the general fund, I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
with all the other things.
Yeah, I just like that for the record, that we spent an additional 166,000 in legal fees, I guess.
The 166 was the increase in fund balance.
That's correct.
Yeah, that was.
And what?
That was the
It
total.
was the total increase in fund balance that we
We
had.
spent like 100.
Okay.
That number is probably in the budget to action schedule in the back. If we had to find it somewhere. But anyway, that was a long time ago.
Yep.
So,
We have turned a new page, hopefully.
so yeah, the books are in good order. Any other questions?
Nope,
All right, good deal.
very good.
Thank you
Lee,
for-
thank you so
Thank you.
much.
All right. Like getting good report cards. Next up, we have on the agenda Canterfield Creek stormwater issues, 9417 Belmont Lane.
Is that the image?
Alright, let's see it.
Matt Hilsenrad,
Matt.
nice to meet you all. So I'm new to the area, been here for about 18 months, still learning the lay of the land, both literally and figuratively, how to go about this process. So Rohit has been guiding me along the way, so thank you, Rohit. The curb in front of our yard is acting as a dam to keep water inside of our yard. And so this year, there's been 4 times where the yard is flooded into our crawl space, and I've engaged several different professionals to assess the situation, and the recommended action is to either put a hole in the curb to allow water to flow out, or to route the water from the storm drain, or from the drainage drain, which is up there on the screen, into the storm drain, which is right next to it. So I have this written out, I said that to Rohit last night, but basically there's 4 drainage grates along either side of my house, and the lawn is sloped down from the back berm all the way to the front yard with the intention of water exiting my yard at the curb.
So, just so council knows, that inlet that we see there is on your property.
Correct.
That's not
Yeah,
ours.
The drainage grate is
That drainage.
mine, yes. And so, as I said, I moved here 18 months, it's existing, I didn't put any of this in, I'm just trying to figure out how to fix it. So this video is after a heavy rain. This is not during a heavy rain. During a heavy rain, it looks like a small creek, and that happens on either side of my house. So I'm just looking for guidance as far as how the village can help me prevent this from happening again, particularly when there's heavy rain.
You can play it.
So there you can see the storm drain on the right, and that's like a low flow. You can pause it.
So that's,
That's on his property.
Yeah, this is on my property.
So
These are the
those
other
were-
drainage rates.
those were designed with, when you did they did the landscape, obviously you weren't there when they
Yeah,
did the landscaping, but those were designed in,
It was planned from the beginning.
Those were existing when I moved into the house.
The
Yeah.
rest of it's not relevant, so only the beginning is relevant.
I know there was
So-
something similar to a neighbor of mine that was,
Yeah.
when they were building, they were putting certain access points for the storm drain that goes from my side of the road to his side, but I've never seen.
So we had, just so you all know, we had Mike with AMT go out and assess it to see, what his thoughts were. The curb cut, is gonna jeopardize the integrity of that curb. It also does not align with our spec manual, so we had him go out and see if there's any possible revisions that we could make to our spec manual or anything that he would recommend. And I don't know if you wanna allow Mike to speak for a second, but he had some input.
Well, yeah, if you want to stay within the standards, what they've done is they brought that water out there at the same elevation as top of the curb. So when it gets there, it just stands till you have an event that comes over the curb. Ideally, those drains wouldn't be there, it would just surface drain to the curb and come over. It would be a sheet flow, not one concentrated area. If you want to keep the drains the only way, I mean, you can't compromise the curb. If you cut it, drill it, it's gonna end up breaking and we're gonna be replacing it. So the ideal is to back it up, take this drain out. You can take a culvert, an improved culvert, tie it to the back of the box at a depth, you know, down to the box. You see what I'm saying?
No,
What size drain pipes you got, 4 inch?
I think so, yes.
Okay, you can use a 12 inch, that's the minimum. Come off of your boxes, just run one line tied to that box below grade with a 12 inch pipe.
Yeah, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know
And
exactly.
it'll need to be jointed and
So if council was willing to do anything to help this, we would have to amend our spec manual, and this would have to be something that we would allow to other residents to do as well. And that's, I don't know if that's somewhere y'all want to go with allowing curb cuts and
This is,
compromising
this is
those.
going to affect the integrity of the curb.
right, and
Okay.
it will
I mean-
fail. And if you ride this subdivision between this lot, it backs up to Joe Kerr.
That's correct.
And everything on that side, as you go down Belmont, on the right side through that area, there's a berm. And all the water, all the lots, the water's coming to the street. The ones that don't have this, they don't have standing water, they just sheet flow out. This is tied to your downspouts too, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So if you look on the other side of the road where the water's sloping away, there's no issues over there. But this is all the way down that side of the street, if you've noticed when it rains.
if you
So
plan.
you're saying take these, what he has now, and tie those into a 12-inch pipe, and that goes into the
That
drain?
goes into the back of that, where you see that metal grate with that hood,
Right.
that's a concrete box. It'll go into the back of that box.
I see what you're saying.
But that would be something that he would do with his
That
own
would be-
vendor
and
on his
every
own private
encroachment
property.
agreement.
But I would be okay, to I would be allowed to do that?
I put that in that letter, all you need to do is do an encroachment agreement. and
I
you
didn't
can-
see that letter. It was not sent to me.
I sent it to,
Yeah, okay, I can forward you that.
Okay.
because I think he's, rather said you'd want some option.
My concern is obviously we start getting into curb cutting and doing all that, then we're doing it for multiple areas when it sounds like it, and correct me if I'm wrong, and no offense to
Sure.
the property that you bought, but it sounds like that was their answer when they built that house. The storm drains, I mean, the gutters pour into those drains just happen to be below grade,
Below the curb.
below the curb.
Right, so when it gets to the curb,
It's
when
not gonna go
when you
anywhere.
have an event, it just comes
Right,
over,
right.
once it gets down flush, it stands.
Okay.
So if they would've put any kind of a drain, French drain in, it would've helped that water, you know, dissipate. But, I mean, I'm sure it's just solid pipe, so
Right.
you don't have anywhere to go.
Alright, so it sounds like you've got an option that you can tie into the
Yeah,
storm drain.
absolutely.
Okay.
So we can get you guys back together and y'all can work out the encroachment agreement.
Sure.
Sure.
We don't have to take further action.
Very good.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have pavement conditions, index street surfacing. Mike?
Come on down, fellas.
So we purposely didn't pass out some of the information that he's gonna show, because y'all didn't wanna see the roads. But we do have that information at our access. Once y'all decide that, you know, how you're gonna do it, then we can disclose that information. But when we get,
Mike, are you not gonna come join us at the table?
Yeah, yes.
Mike, when we get to that spreadsheet,
Apparently.
when we get to that spreadsheet that has the road names, I saw there was one in there. We might just fast forward through it.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't let it just camp out there, but you're
Okay.
not gonna need to anyway.
Yeah.
This one here?
Yeah.
Alright, so we'll try to follow this PowerPoint through. So the first side here is you can bump it up one.
Do you want to sit here and talk? You sure?
You're fine.
Okay.
This was some existing changes we made after our first round of resurfacing, and this just shows where we're have the detail now to do the profile milling and tie in to the curve at the same elevation. And then the bottom one is the manhole where it shows the asphalt will be on the surface.
Two things. This, if y'all recall the issues that we had at Canterfield with the variation, the lip variation, we still need to go back and actually change our spec manual to reflect these. We haven't actually gotten this changed in our spec manual. So we need to go back and do that at some point, but
Did we?
those- yes, we added it into our contract with DOT, so they did this with.
But we
with
haven't
Blackwood.
put it in the spec manual.
Correct.
Okay, so you guys have that on the list to
Yeah.
add?
Yeah, there's a list of things to do to add to the spec.
We have some other things to add as well, so, just so y'all know.
And I don't think we had any of those issues with this
That's
past
all.
years
Okay.
around the roads. So.
Good.
Most of them didn't have.
We've got a few manhole issues and Firethorn we're still working out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just where they're not tied in.
It's literally like hitting a pothole,
Right.
especially if you have a low profile car. So if you're driving in right in front near, if you pay attention where McCabe's used to be, that is probably the most significant one that I always end up probably hitting just because of all.
Well,
You should drive around it.
it's kind of hard to right now.
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
is.
kidding.
It is with all the
Construction.
construction just a bit. But then I also took the liberty to go around, just drive around, and I think I sent you. Did I send you the list of all the
Yeah.
different areas where
Yeah.
the
And
and all I was looking at really was pothole. I mean, not potholes. The manhole covers where there was a significant dip.
And that's been sent over for the record, if anyone's listening, it has been sent over to AMT. They're adding it to the punch list. The vendor actually does have a year to complete any issues. So obviously we try to get it done before that, but per the contract, they have a year.
Okay, so are we gonna talk about also the, and I don't know if you're there yet or not, but that's manhole covers, but there was also an area where any type of, when we had any event, rain event or whatever, a pooling of water was at the first, I'm gonna say it's Berwick is the
Yeah,
first.
we've addressed that.
Did,
Well, DOT turned it over to them. That's, that curving in that radius looks like it has settled. But
okay.
they've got a contract with sidewalk levelers. They come in and they
Lift up that.
hydraulically lift it. Once they do that, they can come in and mill and then resurface that corner. It's just a little, it holds, what, 3/4 of an inch?
So they're able to do that to the, I just had that done in my own garage. Where
Yeah.
They went, injected in and put and lift everything up, so they're gonna lift that whole corner up, is it the plan?
Right.
Okay, all right, so that should push it on to the storm drain, I assume.
Right.
Okay, and that's to be
They
done,
don't like much.
okay.
Well, I mean, that's at DOT's discretion.
The only thing is that it's like, it was in the summer when that particular person, whoever lives there, was when they were doing their, even sprinkling system. It would all gather right there, so you would, all summer long, I was going through a big,
Well, I mean,
City water.
I went back on GIS and, that water was standing there 2 years ago too, so it's nothing new. Those pictures,
I think I would have noticed that, just sitting, I don't know, I mean,
if
I'm
you
not saying.
look
that-
on GIS, it may be worse, but I know on GIS, there's pictures from 2 years ago showing that water there. But, anyway, yeah, our plan is to repair it.
Okay.
Move on,
Yeah.
Yes.
move on.
Come back to this, because we actually have this at a separate part of our meeting, so can we come back to this if you don't mind?
Sure. Okay, so this sort of starts our, what we did late last year for the village as far as the pavement condition survey, per NCDOT methodology, for all the roads in the city limits, including the private roads, also did the greenway. In addition to doing a survey for the curb and gutter, wheelchair ramps, all the drainage structures, the manholes, and then the culvert systems. All right, so the next sheet, I'll let Mike talk about it.
Well, this is basically new. It's something we added to the survey. And what it does is it's inventorying every street within the limits of the village. And we've got every structure inventoried on this spreadsheet. Now, you're only seeing a screenshot because it's a big spreadsheet. But it covers any failures, curbing, wheelchair ramps, retrofitting wheelchair ramps where they're not, they need to be. It addresses all that, failing culverts, failing boxes, culverts that's partially blocked. You know, we didn't camera anything.
Yeah.
This is open system. So the closed system is, I mean, we done what we could see, we didn't camera. So anyway, it gives you a baseline for all the failures you've got. And ideally, we're doing resurfacing every other year. So for the roads that DOT owns, this is a good, you just go right here and you can pull off the repairs DOT needs to make before we let them turn it over to the village. The roads that we're gonna resurface next year, that's a good time to go to those roads in here and repair anything that could cause us trouble. Because the worst thing is going in and resurface a new road and then have to go in there and cut it open to repair it.
So Mike, say that again. You said, so this is our list of all of our curb and gutter.
Curb and
And if
gutter.
there are any issues with these, you know where the issues are. We need to go to DOT now and say we've got issues with.
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
When, just like we done Firethorn,
Yeah.
when we're ready to upgrade them, DOT to upgrade them, and for us to add them to the village system, that's when we have DOT go in there and address whatever failures may be.
So they'll address the fail. Okay, so even if we're paying for the roads, they'll do the curb and gutter failures.
That's not part of the resurfacing program.
Gotcha.
So anything that's failing is failing on DOTs.
Gotcha.
So they make the repairs before we take ownership of it.
Got it. Okay.
And then ideally, on our end, the roads that we've already accepted, if there's failure on curb and gutter, for instance, Canterfield or Firethorn that happens, we would have to schedule that according to some priority that we set internally.
Okay.
So when you say the wheelchair, that's on the curbs, the wheelchair access to those, usually on the corners is where that's at. So I, also, because I know there was a kind of discrepancy of what, they put these rubber pads, slip.
Well, it's not for a slip, it's a
For
truck
the-
that cut it down.
Traction.
It's actually, no, it's for the
blind.
impaired.
Fine.
So they can feel it.
They can
Oh,
tell
okay,
when the,
okay.
Right.
Well, I didn't know what it was for. I just know they were on that, but they also were getting beat up and like, who's responsible for that right now?
if it's on DOTs, if it's still a DOT, that is DOT.
But if it's in Firethorn, it's our responsibility.
Well, not yet. It
Well,
hasn't
once
been
we
turned
turn,
over
once we
yet.
turn it.
No, we
Canterfield,
replaced-
they don't have.
Any,
sidewalks.
it doesn't matter. I mean,
Yeah.
We
we keep
replaced
saying
a lot of
Firethorn
those
just because I noticed
already.
it happened. What?
We replaced a lot of those already.
Okay.
And one thing I think, if y'all, people that live in the neighborhoods, or if they're a little vigilant about it, I think the guys, the kids riding skateboards and stuff, I think a lot of times when they start getting warm, they can actually
Tear
pull
it
them
up.
up.
Band
Um,
skateboard. Remember that?
So you may want to keep an eye on that, because, I mean, they're not real cheap.
Yeah.
Mike, real quick, I know we had discussed priorities on here. Were you gonna go back and do that later?
Yeah, and like I say, if it's not a danger to the traveling public, I mean, it's not an emergency. That's what we're gonna do the purchase order contract for. But, basically just general maintenance, your small failures, your cracking your curb, putting steps in box, retrofitting, crosswalk. That's something that, you know, we just need to address when it comes up for resurfacing. The year before we go in there and resurface, we need to go in there and update everything, make sure everything's structurally sound before we go spend money to put new asphalt down.
So a couple of distinctions I want to make too is, this is a total dollar amount per linear foot.
Right, if you take this spreadsheet all the way to the right, it shows each road what's gonna cost to upgrade that road. If you touch the spreadsheet all the way to the bottom, it tallies up, let's just say curb joints seal, you seal them by the foot. So if you follow that down to the bottom, it's gonna give you a number of what it would cost right now to go seal all the curb within the village. But if you follow it out to the right, that's the one you're gonna use for resurfacing. Cause it's gonna give you a dollar amount for that road.
So I do want to make sure that everyone understands that when we figured out the resurfacing plan over the course of the last year or two, we did not include any curb and gutter, stormwater, any of that. So
Right.
all these numbers that you see right here basically change the impact on what we've already discussed with the cost of resurfacing.
But if it's future roads, that just take out what we've already accepted into the village. So if it's future stuff, DOT should pay for that.
If it's a DOT road, yeah.
Right.
Anything that the village is taking directly from a developer, the developer
Well, I was gonna
should.
say the developer should have it up to standard before we take it over.
Right.
And you guys always make sure that that's right. So Christina, we shouldn't have that many roads that it affects. It's Weddington Chase, Canterfield, Oak Brook. Well, Oak Brook doesn't have,
No, they don't have curb and gutter.
so Firethorn, Weddington Chase, Canterfield.
Is Firethorn, Marvin Creek in our system yet?
No.
It's, like I say, it's all on there.
So
The
there's not,
village roads, the state roads, and the private.
so there's not many on there that we really need to address all, though I do see Weddington Chase on there, so. So, okay.
How are we addressing, for instance, the one comes to mind because they brought it and there was a concern, and I think there was a little battle between who was responsible for it, but where the drain is, the gutter is, that feeds down to a lower property, that actually is an easement, apparently, for whoever's responsible for it, that runs through the yard. The homeowner was complaining because the yard was sinking, and there was an issue. This was a couple of years ago. How are we addressing that issue where, so the developer who developed it, the curb cut was, the gutter is in there because it's put down the slope into a cul-de-sac. And then that drains into another lower area, and it just kind of all follows the natural path of gravity. But the actual in his yard was collapsing.
So to me, and Mike, you can interject if you want, but to me it sounds like a private party issue. DEQ would come in and give permits for any impervious surface that was impacted for more than 1 acre. So they would be responsible for,
The homeowner would.
DEQ would be responsible for anything over 1 acre. So if there was a complaint, they would work with DEQ to handle that. But if it's not, then it would be a private party issue unless it was something the village was doing to cause the water. Do you have any other input into that?
That's right.
So, Mike, you have a priority level for this spreadsheet, right? Like what needs to be done?
Well, actually, we don't have a priority yet because we don't have a system set up for maintenance yet. I mean, we've talked about that. Actually, the village is taking these roads, and we have to have something in place to perform maintenance on them. So there's this work we're talking about. We need an on-call contract in place to have a contractor come in when we need to make these repairs, especially an emergency repair. To have them on call where we can get it taken care of. The other thing is, if we need to get the homeowner associations on board with this, that when they're gonna do something, the village would prefer they use the village's contractor. If you don't, you're gonna have, so many
Doing what?
putting in sidewalk, whatever
They've got to get approval from the village to put in sidewalks, right?
Yeah. What about like speed humps? Those two?
I mean, they've got to either get it from DOT or from us.
Well, if they do speed humps, it's kind of like Firethorn.
They gotta get approval through the state because it was a state-owned road.
So if it's village, You know, I would still have them doing it, have the HOA doing encroachment agreement just like the state does.
Right, so we would need we just don't have
I mean,
a process or, you're suggesting that we have some sort of plan for maintenance that is.
Well, yeah, but he's saying like if the HOAs decide to do something, well, the HOAs are gonna have to come to us anyway, so
Right.
they're gonna have to get approval and then we'll tell them who they need to use.
And we've already got that we're actually, I've had that request from Providence Estates, and they're not our roads yet, so we'll have that request coming up shortly. But they want for us to pay for a portion of it, and we don't have a plan for that, so we need a
What do they
traffic
want?
calming policy for establishing devices, and that's not something that we're prepared to discuss today.
What,
Right.
but what do they want?
They want speed humps,
So,
speed tables, whatever you wanna call them.
And they want us to
Providence
pay for it?
Estates?
They're willing to split it, or, so we'll
Okay.
talk about that.
Nice.
I mean, it's gonna be a request that comes from different
Okay.
subdivisions.
But they've gotta come to us anyway, so then we'll give them the approval and tell them who to use, or
But if-
not.
In terms of the question about emergency repairs, Mike and I have been working on that for the last couple of months, and we actually have issued an RFP for those services. That's going to be something we bring back to you all at a later date.
And you guys will have like a maintenance plan in place for us to look at and,
We will have a contract to look at for emergency repairs, stormwater cleanouts, anything that might happen that needs repair immediately.
And do we do an RFP for that, or do you have someone in mind that you guys?
We do an
have?
RFP.
we have to do an
Yeah,
RFP.
we're
But
gonna
you
have
still have to do it.
And it'll be a small business, not a problem.
Okay,
We're doing that right now, so.
Okay,
okay.
And I've already got the contract put together, it's just a matter of
Picking
getting
them.
an agreement and getting it posted.
okay.
So,
Is there a timeline on this that we would want to get all these completed?
that's something that we need to discuss when we talk about the road resurfacing schedule, because it's all driven by the dollar,
No.
which is the next topic, and the majority of that chunk is gonna be the roads.
Okay.
So if you wanna finish your curb and gutter out,
Well, basically, that's it. It gives us all the information we need. If we have an emergency, we pretty much know what's out there. If we have something in place, we already know it's a 18-inch RCP, so we know what we're gonna be up against.
so I do wanna emphasize that he did say that they did not camera anything. So this is everything that you can see by sight. So anything that fails internally that they can't see, we wouldn't even know right now. So there are some of those things that could happen now that the stormwater is our problem in our system.
But they usually fail over time. I mean, you usually see them, the road will start settling and, I mean, it takes time.
Is this something we have online for the community to know what, is this something that's important enough to put online as far as schedule or what needs to be done?
This is not an actual schedule, it's just kind of a criteria of
Yeah, I can't see
where the
it.
failures
Just got
are. We could definitely
months.
put it on our website so they can see, but it's not prioritized or
Okay.
scheduled out.
So Christina, when we look to 21 and the roads that we do in 21, we will take into consideration what, like, so we may do less roads in 21 because we need to work on curb and gutter.
What our plan was, and Mike and I had talked about this, is we would prefer if there's curb and gutter that needs addressing where a road resurfacing is coming after, we would do the curb and gutter first, then have the roads come the next year. So we would kind of alter the years.
Okay, so we would do like curb and gutter this year, roads next year. curb
That's
and
what I
gutter.
say, it's every other year resurfacing program, so the odd years is the time to address these. For
Okay.
the upcoming program too, so.
How are we with funds to do that?
We budgeted 160, whatever POW bill was this year, that we have no intentions of spending. It was just gonna go back into reserve. So we have funds budgeted there, but that's gonna impact next year's
That's what
schedule
I'm saying, because then we would have used that 100 and
that we were saving for next year.
for next
Yes.
year. So, okay, so it may affect how many roads we can do then.
Yes, it will, for sure. So when he gets to the roads, what I've given him is some information on the long-term goal of 300,000 every other year. So figure that number out, basically what falls in those sales for curb and gutter and what streets within that amount. Council can decide to appropriate more, but just know that that takes away from
Other
general
things.
operations.
So curbing, okay, so let's just say that we did curb and gutter this year. I'm not going to, but like maybe we will, but let's just say that we're going to. We would pick something that we have already taken into our road system. We're not gonna pick
Yeah,
something.
the only thing you would look at is the village system, and out of that, just the roads that's on the resurfacing program the next year. That's the ones you want to address.
And when we looked at the total number, I don't want to scare you.
Hold on, wait, I don't, say that again, I didn't
Okay,
understand.
if you've got 5 roads on the resurfacing program for next year,
That are gonna be resurfaced next year.
this summer, this fall, those 5 roads need to be addressed and have these repairs.
But
made.
wouldn't DOT pay for it? We wouldn't have to?
If it's a DOT road, but if it's in the village of Marvin,
But okay, but
If
what you're
it's-
saying
if
is
it's-
you've got 5 roads that are gonna be resurfaced next year that are not in, that are DOT roads,
Mhm.
because we're
you
not,
don't have to worry about it.
okay,
But we do have to notify DOT to get that done
Right.
before the.
Yeah, we do that.
You do
on
that,
resurfacing,
okay.
Yeah.
okay.
So, like for instance, Firethorn, we didn't do that with Firethorn,
Mhm.
the curb and gutter.
Right,
So now Firethorn becomes our problem.
Correct.
right.
So Firethorn is going to be one of the ones that we just have to kind of pull in there.
Do maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay. But if it's a DOT road and we're resurfacing next year, do we want them to fix the curb and gutter this year or do it right before they resurface?
Well, I mean,
They're going to do it.
you say right before, if you've got availability of April 15th, I mean, you don't have a lot of
This
window.
year?
Next year.
Next year? Well,
resurfacing.
yeah, I mean, that's, I mean,
So it'd be the
but-
fall before.
okay, so they would do it the fall before.
DOT would probably include it with the contract and do it while they're doing the road work.
Okay, that's,
Would they
okay,
forget?
that's kind of what I was thinking, okay. All right.
That's what it is.
All right, so moving on to the pavement condition survey part. There at the bottom, you see the results for 2019 and what the results were for 2016. So we have a good, a fair, a poor. That relates to poor is 0 to 60, fair is 60 to 80, and this is a pavement condition survey rating number, and 80 to 100. So you can see the improvements made there in those 3 years. And if you remember, we had a contract in 2018 and a contract in 2019, and each one of those were about 6 miles that DOT participated with the village to resurface roads. So we made a really big jump. So those 2019 numbers are excellent. I mean, anybody would be proud to have that because they don't have it. Their road system is not. I don't know of anybody that's would fall out that good. So that's the good news. You got good numbers. You know that gives you flexibility and you know how you can spend your dollars. We did incorporate a density score in the recommendations for these next 5 years that we're going to show you here in a bit.
And that was something that you all had asked specifically about to determine basically what roads were used more from the homeowners, like which roads had more homes per road length.
And it gives you a good measuring stick of basically how many folks you're helping for each dollar. I mean, in DOT, if we've taken a new road, it would be by density. In other words, you want the shortest amount of road to serve the most people. And that's, I mean, you don't want to use that totally, but that's a good guidepost to go with.
And so this is just a slide that shows you graphically by the different colors what the condition rating is for 2019. The Marvin System Road and the private on one side and the state road on the other side. And this one, this is just like your typical life cycle curve for a road. So, you know, the theory here is to get the most bang for your buck, you want to try to address your roads before they get into the poor category. You want to eliminate those bigger ticket items, the thicker lift of asphalt that might be required, or the additional patching you have to pay for. If you can catch it in the fair or at the bottom of the good, your treatment is not going to cost you as much, and you can do more mileage, and
So-
you can
sorry.
affect your numbers.
So just for illustration purposes, the green would be kind of like a skim coat overlay.
The dark green or the light green?
Yeah, the dark green could be more of a fog seal. Your cracks are
It's
very
very
slight, just to keep the water out.
Whereas the reconstruction would be something like that just happened in Heritage Oak, where they actually had to full depth reclamation. Did they full depth reclamation there? Do you know?
Do what now?
In Heritage Oak, what did they do there? Did they actually?
No, they didn't do full depth, they
Okay.
patched it and then
Okay.
did the asphalt.
I think they did a good bit of patching those, so
Yeah, they patched it.
that would probably be more in the
Yellow.
gold color. But there are situations we have reclaimed, subdivision roads in the past that, sat there 20-some years and nothing was done to them, so.
So in Heritage Oak, just so y'all know, in Heritage Oak, that number, I remember specifically in the contract, even though we didn't pay for it, it was much higher in terms of Firethorn, because they just profile milled in Firethorn. So to prove his point, the square footage cost or linear footage cost is substantially higher.
It's like, they usually 110, 100 scale pyramid. And for each dollar you spend up there in the light green is equal to $100 down in the red. Because when you get down there, you're doing full depth patch and your subgrade's compromised. But if you put it off and let it deteriorate, it's just gonna cost you.
So would you say then, when DOT is looking at taking over roads giving up the roads, where we now own them, they are looking at it strategically as well? If you're telling us to do that, I'm sure they're thinking, hey, let's take a road like Firethorn, which was in fairly good condition before they took that over, but they were going to spend less on that, be able to turn more mileage roads over to the village, and then take those real bad areas. So, I guess, how does that decided with you guys? And because we're out of it, we're not. We want to stay out of it as council, to say, okay, we're not making these decisions. We want it to be very objective, but DOT comes to you and say, okay, here's what we're going to do this year. If they've got this much budgeted, they're looking at our budget, and then they're looking at what they can do with their budget, but then they're probably going to go search out those roads that are in the good to fair, because in all fairness, they want to get rid of the roads.
Right.
And get them over to us, and I would think if you're telling us that they're taking the same mindset and saying, hey, let's get this road turned over because it's going to cost us less in DOT funds to get that turned over to the state. Am I making any sense?
Yeah, but they're going to look at the pavement condition survey. If we're taking a road that's a 60, they're pretty much going to fully fund it. If we're improving a road that's 85, they're not going to give us as much money. They're not going to participate.
So do you guys take the list to them and say, okay, the village has got $100 and they want to spend it. So tell me what roads we can do. Here's our pavement condition survey. You guys tell us what you guys want to do.
Yeah, well, we definitely try to negotiate with whatever we come up with as a road program, the ones we want to do, and try to get the most dollars we can from DOT.
So you guys recommend them and then you guys try to negotiate from there.
Right.
Okay, so they're not coming to you saying, okay, because at one point I thought that you guys had said that they're like, okay, like, gosh, I wish I can remember looking at a spreadsheet and they were like, okay, this year DOT says they're gonna pave this road. This year DOT says they're gonna pave this road.
Yeah. The roads basically got on their list from
You
us,
guys, okay,
initiated.
okay.
I have a question for
And
Joe.
anything you can get with their participation.
Oh yeah, no, do it right
is
now. I agree.
I've got a question for general understanding. Barbie, can you go to the slide right before that?
Before this one?
Yeah. If you look over, you're looking at the map on the left, look down at where Meadowlark is. With that, with the roundabout going in, does that automatically default where they're going to repair that? Because it's all going to be part of the one project? Just a thought.
This
Is
is a
Meadowlark
private
not
road.
private?
They're private, they're not
Yeah, Meadowlark's
resurfacing the whole
private,
thing,
so we
just
don't
the
have to worry
leg
about
that's
them.
gonna be realigned.
Okay, that's what I was asking for general understanding. So that's a private,
Yeah.
Meadowlark's private, so we don't have to worry about them.
okay.
Yeah, the one on the left is, Morgan System and private, the one on the right is state maintained.
Okay.
All right, you can move down. All right, one more. Okay, and this is what your pavement condition sheet is gonna look like following the NCDOT methodology. On this sheet, you got the private roads in the red pipe at the top. You got all your distresses are listed at the top, with the ratings under them. But basically what you're gonna wanna look at is,
They didn't want to see these road names, I'm just gonna cover them up.
is the ratings on the far right in the yellow. That's,
And basically, that's just another screenshot, it's every road's listed.
So all the roads will be here, and the previous council didn't want to see the road names, so we're gonna block them out. But here's all the criteria, and then here's the ratings.
And if you look at the color block there, the red and orange, that kind of, they're separated by what the rate is.
All right, so those are all 85 and 100s. All right, so do you
yeah, that's
have,
just one page.
do you have the next page?
No, that's a screenshot of the program.
We have all the all the roads. and
Just
all
to
the
sort of give you an
numbers.
idea of what it looks like.
Okay, I was hoping that we could look at the numbers.
Well, you
See-
can, Christine and Rohit will have them, I think she's.
So we'll talk about that when we get down here. Do you have them blacked out?
No, I can go print,
We can print it, right?
we can white it out and print it and give it to you all, but when we go to decide them, because y'all didn't want to be responsible for checking them. Whose roads we don't want to look
biased.
Oh.
We're not actually
There's
approving
3 people in here who've already got their roads paved. It's
the
just
schedule.
me.
We're not approving the schedule today, so I don't know, it's not
Right, I would,
100% necessary that we go over every
like I
single
say,
road.
you've got it. So-
Yeah.
No, but I would like to see, like, how bad some of the roads are. Like, I'd like to see.
Well,
like
that's,
those numbers.
if you basically, that's your far right, but yeah,
Okay.
that's your score. And like I say, that reflects back to that 85%, which is a really good score.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, Barbie, you can go so Rohit can sit down.
Yeah, this is the same thing, just another similar shot with state roads, so you can flip on through that.
Okay.
Oh, those are. No.
Uh-oh.
What about there?
Alright, no.
I don't see
What, through that?
the need for him covering them up.
No.
There.
Rohit, I don't
They don't see the need in coming.
Yeah,
I don't see the need
I'm not
for covering them up.
Yeah, we're not making
Policy
these decisions
you're
anyway.
asking for
Right,
now.
so just,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
You're good.
And plus, if you're not here for
I
recording
think I've seen
purposes,
him
people
on
aren't gonna
top
know
show.
if we're
Game
saying.
show, yeah.
I can't see that anyway.
Okay, this is something new as well. And the reason we did this is, I think there's been a consensus, worse first,
It's a
looking at these
discussion.
roads. And worse first doesn't work. I mean, it never has, with subdivisions.
And why would you say, just for the public, whoever's listening to this, saying
Okay,
worse
well-
is not necessarily first? Why
Okay,
would you
look
say
at
that?
the sheet that's on there, and like I said, this is a screenshot on one sheet.
Okay,
If you look on the far left, those are separated by subdivisions. The blue on the far left are your collector roads. In other words, that's your collector streets coming in. Okay, if you look, those things are scaled. The top is the worst score in the subdivision.
okay.
You see where your blue is?
Mhm.
Every collector or semi-collector is your worst road.
Okay.
Now go to the next screen. This is, for an example, your light green right there is the worst road in there. It's not terrible, but it's the worst one. If you go do that road, and 2 years from now, or 4 years from now, you say, well, wait a minute, these roads back here is worse now. So when we go back there to address those roads, that collector road gets tore right back up. The worst load these roads are ever gonna see is during maintenance.
So you're saying that if we're gonna do a neighborhood, we need to do the whole neighborhood?
That's right.
Wait, say that again?
That's right.
That if we're gonna do a road in a neighborhood, we need to do the entire neighborhood?
Not, well, if you're gonna resurface.
I mean, you can't do 20 miles, you know, if it's
No,
a huge.
but
But if
But
you've
if a small
got,
one like this,
yeah, if you've got that collector road,
yes,
and you could go through there and do,
we'll make sure
a
people hear
minor
that.
treatment to make it last longer, to kind of put it off for 2 more years and then go do them all, you can look at doing something like that.
but now if it was reversed and say some of those others was worse, and you wanted to pick those off when it made sense, you know, you would be fine doing that,
Right.
because you're not gonna run back over roads in the back to do the front.
So you're saying if you wanted to do the roads in the back first, you could
Yeah.
do that without doing the
If
main
they happen to be
collector
in worse
road?
condition.
Okay.
What's the chances of a non-collector being worse?
It
Not
doesn't
very
happen
good.
much.
Yeah, normally if it is, there's a problem with subgrade or something like that.
Okay.
But that's just to let you know that, I definitely would not go spend my dollars on these collector roads
And not do the rest.
and then go back and compromise them when you go back to repair the others. I mean, that's just not smart.
So he's nodding his head saying that that is correct,
For those listening.
for those listening.
All right, we have one more. And so this sheet sort of reflects using, you know, what we've talked about, as far as the housing density, the pavement condition survey, taking into account your collector roads, trying to put, you know, roads together that would make sense to a contractor to bid on. This is our recommendation for 21, 25, 21, 23, 25, and 27 years.
Based on the current conditions.
And keep in mind now, there's like year 21 and year 23 has roads that we have prior DOT commitments on. DOT's funding right now is not good and unpredictable, so when we get to like the end of this year, when they would be putting the contract together, hopefully we would know more about their budget situation and if they could participate. If they could participate, you know, this could get accelerated. Because some of the roads in 2021, in prior years, they had committed dollars to.
Right, right.
But they're not gonna accelerate it beyond where we have our budget is.
No, I mean, we don't have to take them, because if we want to work on curb and gutter, then we can do that too.
So depending on funding, this can change.
So is this just 1 year here? I can't tell.
No, that's all the way from 20 to 27.
Yeah, it's a program for each odd year, up to 27.
And this
Okay, but-
is something that you guys came up with
2021.
on your own, correct?
This would be.
Yeah, this
the
is,
road, and it keeps
I
going.
mean, y'all will want a
okay, I see
plan that
I see.
extends
Okay.
out
So this would be 25,
6, 8 years.
7, so
This is giving you
Have-
that,
we can pick
under,
up some
you know,
more.
what conditions are
Okay,
there
so
right
this one's
now.
19, okay.
Mike,
Okay.
did you go back and do the $300 every other year and that gave you 7 years?
300,000. What was that? Did you remember what-
Yeah, of course, these are estimated costs. I think the highest one was right at 300. The average was like 270 or 80.
And we still need to play with the numbers because I wanted that total to encompass engineering costs as well. So Mike and I will play with that a little bit more, and I want to put in a little bit more inflation cost too, because I'm not sure we did that in the past.
Right.
Um,
And again, we get to the end of the year, DOT has money, it's gonna change anyway.
So we'll bring the actual schedule back before council to let them approve it once Mike and I finalize some of the numbers. But you're telling me right now it looks like it's about 7, but then when we put in some curb and gutter, it might bump up to 8, and then we put back in engineering, it might bump up to 10. So,
Years.
yes.
Okay.
So right now, it's a 7-year plan,
I gotcha.
hypothetically,
Right.
but it could end up being.
It could be longer and it could be
Yes.
shorter because if DOT has more money, what they want. But
Now, and when we also talk about other projects too, like the other day we were talking about the sidewalk project at, Brett, what's the subdivision we were talking about? We have to pay $8,000. Darrell Farms. If we take money out for projects like that, that'll add into some of the years, because we're taking more Powell bill funds. So Michael and I will work on those numbers a little bit more and bring this before you all to actually approve as a
Okay.
schedule.
so you guys have basically already put together the schedule of roads for us. Okay.
Okay, so just for
Hold on,
the,
say it again. So you guys have put together the schedule with no input from council, correct?
Yes.
that's what I was gonna
Okay.
ask, just for the record, because we have a litigious society that we are in, that you guys aren't necessarily being contacted by any of us individually or any homeowners that are influencing your decision. You guys are doing this on your own, presenting it to us, and we
You
just
can blame
basically
me
approve.
for it. If you don't like it.
That's Philip. Philip said it.
And if you like it, you can blame me.
Yeah, okay. Well, we get a lot of that that's, okay, because it fell under this.
And I'm not saying this
magically.
is the only way you can do it. Like I say, you're 85% in the good, so you have flexibility to,
But do you guys feel like this is a good plan going forward for the village? And we have not made that decision, and that's kind of that's how I feel that I would like to move forward with this, is that you guys are making a decision, we are not.
but this is one plan that fits all the things that we're trying to do.
Perfect.
Based on
Okay,
our, okay,
great,
very good.
thank you.
That's all you had?
Yes.
Yep, you guys didn't leave yet, 'cause we got to later on, right? They're not leaving, are they?
No, they have Mike can handle the road resurfacing policy if you wanna.
Oh, can I ask the question about, I don't know if I should ask it here, but it does have to do with roads, so. We obviously had a tragic accident happen in the village, and so I know that there are people who want pedestrian refuges in the middle of the street, crosswalks, possibly speed humps, on Joe Carr. What are-
Lighting, similar to what's
Like,
coming down
what-
Marvin
Yeah, but
Road.
what are our options? Like, I mean, I know that, Joe Carr is obviously a DOT maintained road, so we can't go in and say, this is what we're gonna do here, but what can we do to work with them and help with the safety of our community? Because it's obviously it's a terrible tragedy, and we wanna do everything that we can, to work with, our neighbors to make it safer.
Anytime there's a fatality, DOT will have their traffic folks come out and do a study of the area.
Okay.
And so they'll come out and study it, and they'll make recommendations for any improvements that they feel would help the situation. So I would just let that process play through
Okay,
and see what they come up with.
okay.
And then if you feel like you can, work with the DOT to do, the recommendations, so be it.
Okay.
What
So-
kind of time frame does it take for them to do that?
I mean, should we contact them and
I would
say
be
this
guessing to
happened?
tell you, it would probably be good, we could probably, get up with the district office and just let them know we're interested, in what the results are and getting it done, expediently.
Okay, so you guys can help us facilitate that? Okay, thank you.
So they're basing it on accidents, pretty much.
Well,
Yeah, they'll
especially
definitely look at the
fatality.
accident history.
Why, yeah.
Yeah.
The history and the causes of this one.
I'm just saying it probably leads to like the other certain corners of Marvin Road, just beyond Joe Carr.
Yeah.
As you're going up Marvin Road, that turn there
Yeah.
and speed and all that, but sure, numerous accidents that,
But if it's something that we can help facilitate, and we can partner with DOT, like doing a crosswalk or a pedestrian refuge, whatever we can, we can go in as their partner and say, this is important, what can we do here? And not just wait because they don't have the funds to do it. The safety of the community is of utmost importance, and whatever we can do to be good partners with them, we need to do it.
How much pedestrian crossing do y'all
A
have?
lot right there,
Yeah.
because it's two sides of one neighborhood, and so
Right.
kids and walkers and runners, and it's a lot.
It's it's a fairly decent line of sight, and where you don't lose sight of the cars, so you have decent, but still,
When
it's,
people fly
there's no
on that
designated
road,
area,
it's-
and
So he was
people tend to
crossing
go,
I don't even know exactly
What's
what
that?
happened. Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, crossing the road running, I think, but I'm not, I haven't even seen the accident.
what was the question?
What happened?
Oh.
Yeah. So, but, you know, even if it's, you know, lighting there, that we work with Marvin Creek, that, you know, we help with, you know, their lighting there,
Mhm.
but there's a cross, I mean, something, like, we need, something needs to be done, and I know Canterville's having the same thing, because just down the road at Canterville, they've got an entrance to, isn't it right across the street into Marvin Creek again? So you've got that there, then you've got one from, Bridle Path into another entrance to Marvin Creek, so there's
Yep.
numerous places
There's
there
3 points.
that kids and walkers, especially if we want to try to continue with the connectivity of our, you know, our sidewalks and our greenways, we need to figure out something with DOT that just makes it safer there. Thank you.
Okay. We on to the next subject?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay,
good.
so we're on to Marvin Gardens.
Yeah, good team.
All right, next up, we have Marvin Gardens 7-Eleven pre-application meeting.
All right. Today we have here
He's
our
not here
first.
today.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
They were
no.
wondering if
Sorry.
they were done, but I think
Yeah.
we still
You
have one
you want
more
Mike to stay,
discussion.
don't you? Okay.
Oh, I guess on that subject, I was gonna ask if, I mean, I should have asked this before, but my presentation, could we push that like a little later too? Is that possible, like just a few
You mean-
items later?
This 7-Eleven thing?
No, the funding mechanism.
Funding mechanism, do you wanna put that
Push that
after?
maybe to the end even, I don't know,
Okay.
somewhere.
Where is that at? The
It's
funding?
right now number
Number
6 in
six.
Number
presentations.
6 under presentations.
So do we need to suspend the rules and change that? or-
No,
Okay.
Number 6.
I know, I'm just asking if we,
Just put it at number,
procedurally.
just put it at number 12 under items of discussion. Is that okay with everybody?
13.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be very long, we can talk about it more
Okay,
later.
well, typically, you have to suspend the rules, add that, if we're making a change on the
Well,
agenda.
Barbie says we don't have to suspend the rules.
You don't have to, if we're making that.
We can just make that number 13 under items of
it
discussion.
doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be done at that particular time.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, then.
Go get some breakfast.
Stay a while.
All right. Marvin Gardens 7-Eleven pre-application meeting.
All right, so we have our first out parcel application. In this case, it's a 7-Eleven. Here from Kimley Horn, we have Maggie Jones, and I'm also going to be calling in another of their associates from.
Do we have this in our
Virginia.
packet, or did I miss it?
No, this is
No.
not in the package.
It's
They
not.
just-
Oh,
they just-
Okay, I didn't see it
They just
either.
sent it to me
Okay.
yesterday, so if you give me 1 second, I'm gonna call them.
Can you stand up and point, I mean,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that the
I'll-
whole parcel,
That's,
like,
that's the whole out parcel.
that's the whole out parcel, okay. So Publix is like down here
Publix-
off the
yeah,
screen,
Publix
okay.
is down here. This is Newtown Road.
And that's the building for
Where's
7-Eleven?
Providence Road?
Providence Road is here.
Yep.
Maybe I should pull out another, like a zoomed out
So
version.
is it?
So it's on
kind
the side of where the dentist, the Bank of America?
No,
No, no.
no, it's,
B of A is over here, so you know, to get your bearings, you got
so like.
You got
the
Providence
school's over
Road
here.
coming
Right.
this way, B of A is gonna be over
And
here.
then Publix is back there.
This is, I don't know how far down the road, but there's an access point here.
So is
Publix
this the
sits
furthest
back
parcel?
here. So
Yeah,
this
Yeah.
gas station, 7-Eleven, where are the pumps at? Right here?
Right there, yeah. The building
Okay.
is.
And there's 6, which
The
is the
building's
max
at
we
the
allow.
street.
And they're gonna be back off the street, and they're gonna be probably more accessible
Yeah,
from Newtown
because this is,
than they
this is
are
the side
cutting
street,
through.
right?
Yep, that's the street that was planned, yeah.
So this is the furthest most parcel on the property? Rohit, is this the furthest most parcel on the property?
The furthest out parcel, yeah. So I just brought out the full plan, and just to orient, this is upside down, but it's north
Okay.
facing up. This is Providence Road.
Yeah.
Yep,
And for the new council that's here, this was the only place that a gas station, I think we
So-
were
Yeah, that's
going
correct.
to allow
So there,
approval
a
of.
gas station is allowed at this location.
Right, okay.
Right.
So in the zoning documents, it says only this out parcel can have a gas station, and so that's what they're.
And is there a
applying
road to turn in right there?
for. There's a
Yeah.
driveway right here
Okay.
on Newtown Road.
Okay.
That access is public
And
as
then there's
well.
another one down there.
Oh, okay, so Publix,
Yeah.
Publix is on the corner.
Publix,
No.
Publix
No.
is here.
Right there.
Yeah.
So in relation to this map,
It's
it's
closer to
somewhere
the-
in the middle of the parcel.
Yeah, it's right on the road.
So
This is
like,
Providence
Publix
and
is back
Newtown.
here, Newtown,
Yeah.
Providence.
Okay. You got it, Bob?
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's not part of the development
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I got it.
Right.
Got a bunch of
Yes.
bearings.
Sorry.
So anyhow, this is
That's
a,
not-
That's it.
we're good with this right now.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
situated now.
thank you. Sorry.
So just to clear things up, this is, Kimberly Horns opted for the pre-application meeting, so that's what this is. I discussed this last time, you asked them to come to the work session meeting, so here we are.
Or Jeremy and Danielle.
Jeremy, they said Jeremy's not on the phone, but Danielle is.
Okay.
Hey Maggie, I'm on speakerphone, so I can hear you guys for the most part.
And just so, now that we have our bearings straight, kind of just to show everyone what's going on here, I know it can be kind of confusing. So this is the building, on Newtown Road to kind of screen the pumps from the road as you go by. We will have to, we didn't provide elevations, because we wanted to kind of flush a few things out right now, but we will follow the approved architectural guidelines as part of this development. So we do think it'll be a very good looking fuel center. This is the dumpster enclosure and will be screened, so you won't see that visible from the road. This is the overhead canopy, and these are all the little fuel pumps under there.
1 second,
Yeah.
how are they screening that? Dump
So
area?
it'll, Danielle, will it be a brick enclosure for the, but we'll match the kind of architecture
To the
of
building.
the building.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. They match the design of the building, whatever facade they use, and they'll have that, and it will be completely opaque. You will not be able to see through it. It will be enclosed. It will be fully enclosed.
Okay.
So that should not be any kind of eyesore. And then these are the tanks, just to kind of show you, but those are all underground, so you won't see that. And this is just kind of show we have to have the fueling truck be able to maneuver through there and fill the underground storage tanks.
So
And
they come in through that road, the fueling truck, and then obviously hit the site where they dump the fuel. And then how is their exit? Does it go through Publix or does it go back around to Newtown Road?
it uses the loop road, I think, back out. Does it go back out onto Providence?
Yeah, this road
Yeah.
here, this is one of the drive aisles, thanks.
Yeah, so it
This will be one of
comes
the
in
drive
off
aisles.
Newtown and then
Yep.
like weave through the site and then would go back on that kind of main arterial road and get back out on Providence.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be with the pedestrians like in
Right,
front of Publix
right.
or anything
It'd
like
be
that.
more the heavier traffic
Correct.
areas.
It'd be
that-
using your main roads.
Okay.
Yep.
So they would not go back out to Newtown because they could
No.
not get a left. They would
Yeah,
have to.
they can't
Right.
make that like U so
Right.
quickly, so you kind of have to.
And you cannot make a left coming out of that roadway that we're
No.
putting, you cannot
Oh,
make a
maybe you
left.
can.
Can you make a left onto Newtown Road?
Out of here?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I don't,
Well, not the truck, but in general.
But
I
in
think you
general, can you?
Yeah.
In general, you
Or is there
can.
gonna be a
Oh, wait,
median
I don't
there?
think you
Yeah,
can. I think
actually-
there's a median.
Yeah, actually,
There's
in this
gonna be a
plan, it looks
median
like there's a
there.
median.
I think it's a right in, right out driveway.
Yeah.
Here.
That's what
There it is.
that's what I thought was
So
originally
there's that
planned.
median, so
yeah.
you can left over, but you can only right in, right out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So trucks can get in, but not out of that
Okay.
location. So the two things that we kind of wanted to discuss with council today, so this was approved as part of the overall plan and this out parcel was approved for a gas station. However, to make this work and make it the nice gas station that we want to bring to the village and match all the architectural guidelines, the guidelines for this center only allowed 4 pumps, 8 fueling positions. And 7-Eleven would like to bring 6 pumps, which would be with 1 car on each side of the pump, potentially would be 12 fueling positions. So what's currently allowed in the zoning, they would have to remove these 2 pumps and only have 4. And what 7-Eleven would like to propose to make this performa work to bring the architecture that we would like to see here, they need to see 6 pumps. So that's one item of discussion, and then the other is trying to discuss for the commercial centers in the guidelines. It had from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. They potentially would like to be open for 24 hours, so would like to bring that item up for discussion as well.
Can you say that one again?
So they would like to have their operation hours for 24 hours instead of the 6 a.m. to 12 a.m.
So I'll give a little context
Yes.
here. This is an individual conditional district wherein when this was rezoned, they decided on a specific set of zoning documents. This is it right here. This is the development standards for this particular development. And so what she's referring to is on page 4, the hours of operation says daily operation, hours of operation, all commercial uses shall begin earlier than 6 a.m. and no later than midnight. And so the other restrictions on page 9 for the convenience store, mini mart, express fuel, maximum of 8 fueling positions. So since this is the development standards is the zoning document for this site, if you wanted to consider allowing that, they would pursue a zoning text change.
And it would not be to your whole ordinance, it would be just to this use for the
this.
village, for the Marvin Gardens development. So it wouldn't affect all other gas stations, we're just looking at this one.
So I thought we approved the maximum of 6 fueling stations in this original one.
The one that I have here, it just said maximum of 8 fueling positions.
And so when you do
So
8
what's the
fueling
difference?
positions, so one pump has 2 fueling positions because a car can come on both sides.
Right.
So when you say 8 fueling positions, that means 4 pumps. And so we would like to do 6 pumps.
Versus
That's
12.
Which is 12 positions, because technically at one time 12 cars could be all parked there.
Is there enough space for that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's something that we do whenever we lay out these gas stations, is we measure to make sure that there's queuing and stacking and provides enough room for all this. So it definitely is feasible and is part of kind of the performance to bring the nice gas station area we'd like to see if you want.
So, not that it matters, but I think from a stacking standpoint, are the cars going to be lined up on one side this way, one side this way, or is it going to be one side this way and that way?
Yeah, it's like that.
Oh, it's like that.
Yeah. So you can kind of see that you pull in,
Right.
and it's that way or that way. And so cars can still maneuver around while they're stacked there.
And you got, because I'm a diesel guy, you also have to consider if you have 4, which gives you 8, you're gonna have 2 of those that are gonna be with diesel.
Correct. So it gives
And
you
so-
more to have diesel or ethanol free or options for your customers as well.
Right. So that's, one thing.
It
to
really,
think about.
4 pumps really does limit, and sometimes when you're approving those documents, a lot of times you're thinking of the actual pump and not fueling positions. So the intent may have been to limit it and understand, but when you actually read the terms of fueling position, it kind of limits it to those only 4 pumps, so.
So Rohit, if we wanted to change anything, do we have to do like a full zoning?
They would have to pursue a zoning text amendment, but that's just because this is a
But
conditional
it's
district.
not, like, we don't have to throw the Z up and do all that, it's just us, like.
Yeah,
you don't have to do
for a
that.
text amendment, it's
Okay,
just a
just-
process.
okay.
So there's no
But you'll
public
still have
hearing on it?
There is gonna be a public
Yes.
hearing.
And you'll still have to post on the property that there is gonna be,
Oh, so we do have
a
to throw
zoning
a Z
change.
up there.
Yeah, because it is a zoning change, even though it's.
Well, it's not a
text
zoning district change.
No,
what
no,
you're
but it's
talking
still a
about.
zoning
change.
change.
It's still a zoning change,
It's a text
but
amendment.
it's just a
so-
text
But are
amendment.
we throwing the Z up so people are gonna get all Twitter-pated?
Yes.
Not the Z. The Z, what you're talking about, is for a rezoning. This
Okay.
is not a rezoning. It's just
But you still have to post on the
You have to
property
post
that
a
you're,
public hearing,
that
but not-
You're changing.
We would advertise the public hearing so they know that we're changing something,
Yeah,
but it
exactly.
wouldn't be
It's not a
advertising
rezoning.
rezoning. Yeah.
As you're saying, you wouldn't put the Z up. It's not a rezoning.
It's not a zoning map amendment.
Right.
So,
Just see
And
one
again, I
person
think-
answer me, I got 4.
Yeah.
I mean, if it makes you feel better, we've had public hearings on Market Gardens. We've had quite a few of them so far. It would be a similar sign that we would put up for all of those.
has our planning board looked at this yet?
No, this is a pre-application meeting.
So we wanted to start
High level.
with y'all and kind of see what the feedback was and.
We've discussed this process in terms of the other project.
Yeah, no,
but
no,
it's not-
this is
So
good.
you're basically coming with two asks. One to increase from
4 to 6.
4 to
4
6.
4 to 6, and then being 24 hours.
24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that you're?
That is all I think everything else is spelled out clearly
And
in the.
By the way, thank you for come to us first before we get started. You
Yeah.
guys spend money when we never were approved, because if anything, it'll go to the planning board and then come back to us and get a lot of public. But I'll if that's all that you had, I'll start. I would probably be in favor of sending this to the planning board to kind of look at the pros and cons of going from 4 to 6. I understand it, it makes a lot of sense, especially from a diesel. I would think we would want to be one of those gas station, or allowing a gas station that provides the ethanol free too, because that's, right now there's only one place that I know that's fairly close. And then as far as the 24 hours, I'm not a big fan of that, because 24 hour, I mean, and this is just me talking, so it's the opinion of one for council, and you guys are gonna make this decision anyways, because there's only 3 of you here. Which I didn't mention when we opened up. But the 24-hour thing, my concern would be, how does that affect crime? When you have something that's open 24 hours, and does that bring crime to that because they know that place is open? So that's, I wouldn't necessarily be in favor of the 24-hour. And this is just me, and I'd like obviously to hear from the rest of council on your opinions on that. But going from 4 to 6, given the positions and stuff, that probably makes sense for me, but we'd let planning board look at that.
The reason I'm here, I wanted to get an early view.
I mean, I'm kind of on the same page as you are. Like, I think if 6 is going to help them with getting the revenues to build the kind of building that we want in that area, to make it aesthetically pleasing, then I think that probably makes sense. Again, I think we send it to the planning board, let them mull over it, but I'm definitely not in favor of the 24 hours. I think it's gonna bring more crime. We were just at the sheriff's meeting last night, and they kind of were pointing at us saying, Marvin, you guys are getting ready to have a giant big box store come to the area. You're gonna need another officer for that kind of stuff, so.
And public shuts down at what time? Would they?
I would assume that they're under the same
Same,
guidelines
yeah.
as
Yeah, it
far
says
as,
all
and they probably do
commercial
6 a.m.
on
to
that.
12.
Okay.
So I'm not in favor of the 24 hours.
Yeah, I agree with Kim. From the conversation that we were having with the sheriff's department, they were saying that each time you do something, you bring on another element, you bring on another grouping. And I generally like, corporations that work family friendly with a community. And, I'm kind of heartened a lot of times where I see an operation like this that does want to adjust to the community. And we don't have anything that's 24 hours that I know of that's around that area at all, right?
Right.
We have is it CVS over by Coles open to it? That's not open 24 hours.
It's
Right?
not in Marvin.
And that's not in Marvin. I know that, but it's close. It's like right in.
Yeah.
It may be
There's a
part of
CVS
the
at this
donut
corner,
hole.
too.
What?
There's a CVS at this corner here.
Yeah, there's CVS over there.
But that
too.
CVS closes at,
Yeah,
I
that
think
one's
at
not open
11.
24 hours.
Yeah, that is.
There's really
special.
nothing else
There's
in that
nothing
area
there.
that's
No.
open 24 hours either. The banks are
I
obviously.
mean, the bank's 18.
Question for you and staff, I'm not sure, is there an option to not have and I don't know how this, it's kind of up to interpretation, I guess, but if the convenience store was closed and it was just the pay by the pump option, is that allowed where, you're not having the loitering or the people coming to shop there, but you could, if you're out, pull your car in and just pay by credit card kind of thing? How would that be interpreted?
Yeah, to have the pumps themselves open, it doesn't exactly, it doesn't accept that. here, it just says 24-hour ATMs are accepted. Drug deliveries have to be by 10 o'clock, and that's the only exception.
Okay.
So that would also be a zoning.
I mean, would that be something that maybe a better compromise of, okay, you're not having the people at the convenience store, it would just be more simply that I'm pulling in late, I need gas, and you pay by your credit card, kind of. That's usually been more well received than a 24-hour operation.
Right, so if we, in one of these out parcels, I think is zoned for like maybe a bank or something.
Yeah.
So technically,
Because an ATM could be 24 hours.
an ATM, they could go up in there and to use that at their, you know, it's just that,
I don't know, I'd let that go back to planning board, let them mull over that one. I just know I'm not in favor of the 24. The other one, I don't know. I'm not gonna make a decision on that one right now. Let's see what planning board says.
yeah, so then, but correct me if I'm wrong, we do that, then that's gonna be lighting round the clock, right? Would we expect that the lighting, you'd want ample lighting for them to pull up and be able to do that? So now, does that mean that we have lighting?
But I mean,
Blaring
it's not
there.
gonna be like pitch black at midnight when everything turns off, right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is it's kind of shielded in the commercial center, so you're not, because the building's by the road, which will block the canopy, so it's kind of facing that Publix. So you would still want some lighting for just pedestrian safety and to make sure.
I mean, we're gonna have like street lights. It's not like it's gonna be pitch black, so.
No, I know that.
So no,
Yeah.
but what you're saying is like, it's gonna be all lit up, but it's already gonna be light up there anyway, right?
But
Yeah.
they're gonna probably require more light if they're gonna allow, because I would imagine that
I'm
the light.
sure, but you could probably have that canopy lit, and that's probably it for 24 hours. Because there's gonna be other lights on for 24
Yeah,
hours.
I mean, I think we would still probably be just as good as the commercial uses that are allowed in there.
Where do you, and maybe this is on here somewhere, where do you have the sign that says how much it is per gallon?
That's a good question.
So
Is that
typically
gonna
we
be-
would try and have a freestanding sign out on the road frontage. Is that allowed?
But is it
right
gonna
here.
be, will it be on,
Overall development sign?
but
Is that
will
where
it
it's
be
gonna
on
be?
Newtown or will it be on Providence?
I mean, they'll take as many signs as y'all let them have, but it
And
would,
and the
it would
reason
be
I'm
on
asking,
Newtown.
as I see this,
Yeah,
I'm picturing the Citgo over by Target over in Blakeney. And I think they've done however they've structured that and however they got the approval there, did a really good job of, when I think of Hilton Head, you have no commercial. I mean, you pull in to figure out how much you're gonna pay for gas.
yeah, we're,
This parcel I'm viewing as the same as the one over by, the Citgo over by Target.
You have to kind of pull in
So
before you
you
really
have
know
to
what
pull
you're
in,
getting.
and you have to almost know it's there, but they do have a
Yeah.
sign, and it's out on, actually, their sign is up against, one of the signs is up against the wall. I don't think they have the sign sitting on the road at all.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
So,
Right.
that's just.
So I had to think about where that was as you said that. I'm like,
It's
wow,
right
they
at the
did
line.
such a good job there. I was like, Target got it, Blakeney got it. That's right.
And
There's
listen,
that
I'm
gas station.
not a fan of the car wash thing, but the way they structured that from a site standpoint, it's very, reserved, but you do have access to, and I think they probably have,
We got a bunch of pumps.
they've got a.
Do
bunch
we
of-
allow for a car wash with that or no?
I don't think so.
we do.
There's no intention of
Okay.
bringing a car wash.
So
There's a car
I'm
wash
just,
across the street if I want to get a car wash. That's true.
so, that's just,
That's a good point though. I don't think I want to see
Yeah.
that gas.
I don't think we've made it to the signage point yet, but.
So we can figure that, I mean, that
Yeah.
will be another conversation.
Because really the pumps is gonna drive whether this
They want to
project
come or not.
can move forward.
Gotcha.
how many, I don't know how to ask this question really, but how many convenience stores, gas stations have a 24-hour gas?
I do fuel stations all over North Carolina, and pretty much everyone at least allows to pay by the pump 24 hours. They don't allow convenience sales 24 hours.
Because I'm just thinking from Waxhaw to, is the Shell station over by Weddington, is that do you know if that's a 24-hour pump?
It is. It is.
It is? Okay.
And,
But do they close the convenience store?
They do, yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
most places are not fans of the late night convenience store, but will allow just pay by the pump.
So as it goes to planning, I'm in the same tune with them. As far as the number of pumps, I'm all in favor for that because, and again, from a diesel standpoint, you have people that come in with landscaping trucks and doing all this other stuff, and they'll tie up those pumps all day. It's hard to find a diesel. Well, then if you do that, and if you have diesel there, then you're basically eliminating half the other consumers coming in just to get gas. So I'm all in favor of, extending it to the extra pumps. Not a fan of the 24, just like you guys are. But I just would be mindful of the signage, how much per gallon it is, and how you guys could work with us
Yeah, definitely.
on limiting the exposure of signage, so to speak.
And as far as the 24-hour pump,
I'm in favor of the 24-hour pump, but kind of no on the convenience store. I think, as my mama said, and all mama said,
Nothing good.
I know where you're
nothing
going.
good happens after midnight.
I think,
Except running out of gas. I don't want to run out of gas.
I think it would be convenient for, at least the employees of Publix, especially when they're leaving. They're coming in at all hours, I'm sure, and they're leaving late or getting there early. It's probably going to be a good convenience for them. And like I said, if it's going to be dangerous to go to an ATM, it's going to be dangerous filling up, at 3 in the morning.
there'll probably be better lighting than at a bank,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
Yeah.
If you look at it from that. I'm gonna have John
I
speak.
just have a question, and I'm not trying to interject anything, just looking at it. Obviously, I assume it will be coming to the planning board. I assume 7-Eleven's going to want to go forward. Will it be a complete package versus just this? I mean,
There's two things that are gonna happen.
Architectural, et cetera, that
Right.
addresses
Right.
everything. I have not reviewed what was in the conditional use for that spot. I mean, will it address, it'll be a full package instead of just being this much?
Right, so there's two things that are happening that are gonna come to the planning board. One is the zoning text amendment that they're requesting. I'm gonna advise that they apply for all three, and then you can vote to approve with modifications, or deny. But then the other thing that they will be presenting probably at a later time is the full application for the
Okay, so
design
that'll be
review
later.
board.
All right.
Yeah,
just
no.
I-
So we can probably, I think that 7-Eleven wanted to feel out kind of what was the council's reception to the project and our expansion. And based on that, we could bring together some more materials that would help.
I think it's, that you're good here, and I'm just trying to think ahead when
Yeah,
people ask.
give a little more context and
When people
some
ask
good
me,
pictures.
or whatever, or our board or whatever, it's this much this time, and then later on it'll be this, or whatever,
Right.
just.
You're probably gonna see
So I
it.
understand the picture.
Right, you're probably gonna see the text amendment in a month or so, and then you're probably gonna see the full application in about 2 to 3 months, maybe. depending
If they
how-
want to proceed.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I
I-
think that we'll take this back to the client, but generally, especially the pumps is where they were at and wanted to get that expansion. So if we're
So this would,
that.
construction, quite frankly, would be well after Publix is in, right?
I don't know. That's
Yeah, I mean, it would just, there's still a few more processes to, just between their side and us getting the design ready and then, going through you guys. Yeah, it would probably be a little bit before it's in, so.
Is anything going on with that property just beyond that road that cuts in there? There's a property for sale with the
You mean
building?
this one?
Yeah.
Well, one is that it's not in Marvin, and two is not in the Marvin Gardens project, so can't really speak to that, but all we know is that it's for sale for a higher price than anyone's willing to buy it.
Okay.
Very good.
Fair enough. Okay.
Danielle, is there anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to say, I think the 6 pump thing was a big thing, and they're willing, 7-Eleven is willing to work with you guys on how you want the building to look and the facade. And so I think when we come in with the text amendment change, we'll have the architect prepare elevation so you all can see what is this store going to look like. But we just want to know what you guys want to see and work with you all so that we can make sure we're going to make the store look like what you guys want to see, and that you guys can help us get with the 6 pumps and these other issues. We really want to work with you all through this process to make sure you guys are happy with what's going to be in the shopping center. It's kind of the biggest thing from our end at this point.
Yeah, so, again, I think if we can work together on the 6 pumps, we can work to bring a really nice, convenience store here, so.
Great.
All right.
Thank y'all very much. I guess
Thank
we'll
you.
be,
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll
in
be in
touch
touch
with
with you.
Ricky, and we'll probably see you shortly.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks,
for
Danielle. I'm hanging out
bringing
right
that.
Bye.
Thank you.
You hang up.
So the 6, we're pushing that up, the funding mechanism?
Yep.
Okay, so that's being moved to.
Yeah, and the reason I'm pushing that off is because we have the people here for the subdivision.
Yep.
By the way, you weren't here when we did this, but I've moved the subdivision up a few spaces. So there's only basically the road acceptance policy, and then we'll get to your subdivision.
Okay, so we're at next for a call for a public hearing?
No, we're Village Hall.
Oh,
No, there's,
Yeah, there is.
there's no item under
There's a
there.
thing there. we got updates.
Okay,
We do have the look, I guess, yeah.
okay, so who has that? Is that
I
you
can
or?
start off.
Yeah, sure.
So next up is Village Hall.
Village Hall.
are you doing a call for a public hearing?
No, we're doing
No,
Village
Village
Hall.
Hall's here.
Oh,
They just have a place setting, there's just nothing in there about what, it's an update. We have it for 10 minutes.
Per the instruction of the board last meeting, we actually made appointments with one of the homes. We're still
Yeah.
waiting to hear back from the other one.
Well, actually, I just heard back from him recently.
Okay.
We're meeting with one of them tomorrow, and the other guy wants to meet next Friday. Is that fine with you?
Next Friday?
Yeah.
No, we have our retreat next Friday. That's
Yeah,
not
Oh,
good.
yeah. Okay, all right. I'll
It
get
would
back
be
to
really good if we could do it tomorrow, since we were gonna be
Alright.
over there and we're doing it. That
I'll
would
get
be.
back to him.
We don't have a quorum, but I do plan to probably attend that tomorrow, so it's just.
I don't know what you all are talking about.
We're
What kind
visiting
of
houses.
meetings?
It's just a tour of
Okay.
the house.
Yeah, tour of a building, a current building. So it's you, Kim, I think you're gonna be there, Christina?
Yes, I'm going.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock Friday?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay. So I will plan to attend unless you guys wanna.
No, I have
If
doctor's
either of you
appointment.
guys go, then we have to
Yeah.
let her
Who's
know
going?
to call for attention.
Me and Joe and Christina and
Yeah.
Rohit. Can we see if we can do the other house tomorrow?
Yeah, I'll ask him again.
Because we have our retreat and I'd like to make some decisions. I mean, he should want to do it sooner than later so that we can.
Right. He said he was gonna try to make it work on Friday, and then he told me later that, like,
We
for
won't
some
be there
reason it
very
won't
long.
work.
And then Jamie, I don't know if you
Yeah,
had a chance.
did you do your homework?
I did.
Okay.
I reached out to Scott, and he's working on getting the group, because he didn't want to do it by himself.
I don't blame him. I mean, he can't make the decision.
No, so he just said, let me work on getting the group together, and I said, okay.
Great.
And I said, vice versa on my end, because I know you and I want to go over there together and speak with them, so.
Okay. Good. Good. That was it.
That's kind of where we left it, and then they were gonna get back to the elders, is my understanding. There is a lot of questions. So I think it's just, we probably need to set some meeting up that what works for them. If we have to call a special meeting, so be it. If not, if they can work it into a work session or a regular meeting.
And if we can, probably should have Chaplin there if it's
Absolutely.
talking about a long-term lease, so. Okay.
So right at this point, it's just brainstorming, high level.
Yeah.
I think that's what they had a lot of questions for, so. Okay.
Correct.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Less than 10 minutes, good for that. Next up, item of discussions, call for a public hearing to consider stormwater ordinance text amendment for sections 150.065 and 151.062 to be held on March 10th, 2020 at 6:30 PM, Village Hall, 10004 Newtown Road. Do we have to
You have to make a motion to call for it.
I'll need a motion to call for that.
So moved.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. That's all we needed on that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we were gonna have it on in the February meeting, but it was a little too short notice. So,
Okay, next up, we have discussion of road acceptance policy.
Okay. Did you give us a new one of these?
get some breakfast.
There's one
Yeah, there's one
your
inside the
packets.
agenda.
Yeah, but didn't you say you made changes?
Well, Mike has made some changes based on the email that the attorney sent to me.
Oh, did she leave? Maggie left.
Oh, the
left some
7-Eleven
stuff here,
stuff?
yeah.
Okay.
Do you have
well,
her number?
Yeah, I don't have her number.
So the attorney sent out some revisions that were needed to the road
She works
acceptance
in
policy.
Charlotte, so.
Mike and I will talk about these changes. He's not,
No, I'm sorry.
I'll let you address it, but we're not asking for approval on this, so we can work out the details of the language change, and we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
You have one?
Okay, basically, I guess the General Assembly has retweaked the laws on performance bond, maintenance bonds. So now you're no longer allowed to hold a performance bond for maintenance. And I think the attorney had made a recommendation of maybe doing a 2-year warranty from the developer. But in my opinion, if you don't have something binding, a surety to bind that agreement, they're gonna be hard to get to make the repairs. I think our recommendation, if, the lawyer says it's fine, what we'd like to see is, the way it reads now, it says the final lift of asphalt shall not have been placed more than 2 years prior to adding it. Okay, we got a situation right now, Marvin Creek, the entrance off of Marvin School Road, where they put the final wearing surface down. Now they went back in and put the concrete islands. They've open cut the road 2 or 3 places. So, I went in there and just done a punch list for the repairs in the last couple of weeks. And my recommendation on that entrance road, since they have put their final wearing surface down, is gonna be to make all the repairs needed and then go in and mill and repave it, because the village shouldn't be taking a road that already looks like a quilt, with patches everywhere. That goes back to this. I think it should read, the final lift of asphalt shall not be placed prior to a 90% home build out. And that's the other thing, I guess you've already talked about 80 to 90%, Christina.
They haven't seen, or they haven't gone over this in any detail.
Okay, well, it's always been the 80% density, and it's really better to go to 90%, because if you've got 20% of the homes that's not completed, they're normally gonna be at the back of the subdivision, so the whole subdivision is gonna get access to develop those lots. So it's better at least to try to get it to 90%. So anyway, what I'm gonna present is the final lift of asphalt shall not be placed prior to 90% home build out, and all deficiencies within roadway and curb and gutter have been repaired or replaced. So I think if we word that, just like that, as far as for acceptance there, and then we go back to where their bond is, and the bond generally states that when their construction is complete on the roadway and structure, they can apply to have their performance bond released. If they do, and you release the full bond, then we don't have anything holding them to make repairs in the future. It may be, at that point in time, the subdivision may not be but 10% built out. So by the time they get to 90%, you can imagine what the roads are going to look like. So we need something in place, and if you go back here to the bonds, and if you read the way they changed the statute, it actually says the performance bond is to be released upon completion of construction. So if we require them to place that final wearing surface after it's 90% built out, that's when they're gonna be submitting a petition to addition to the market. So they can't place that 1.5 inches. That 1.5 inches is construction, it's not maintenance. So I would say let's go with your bond's 125% at when the construction's complete, when they request a performance bond be released. It also says in there you can release only a portion of the performance bond that's actually done. In other words, if they had 50% construction, you could release 50% of it feasibly. I'm just saying when they get construction complete, other than it being built out and that final 1.5 inches, they can request a release of 85% of the bond. So you're holding 15% of that performance bond, not as a maintenance bond, but you're holding it for them to complete construction that they can't complete until they're 90% built out and they place their final wearing surface. So I think if we do this, we're not taking a maintenance bond, we're not taking 2 bonds, we're taking 1, we're reducing it by the amount of construction that is complete, and we're holding the percentage for the part of construction that's not complete. I don't think anybody can argue that.
Can we start, because I don't mean to like change the way you're going through this, but can we start with the beginning of the policy and kind of work through the detail? Because they haven't seen any of the changes that have been made. So like,
You only submitted us this, right, in our packets?
Yeah.
That's all we have.
That's all we have.
I know we're looking at 2 different things. And just to be clear, since we were on that topic, your terminology of construction complete, if we change the 90%, is when they hit the 90%. That's considered construction complete?
If we change the wording in the final wearing surface, the final 1.5 cannot be placed prior to the subdivision being 90% built out.
Right.
Then that's gonna require them to have it 90% built out before they can
Okay.
finish construction.
Right.
I mean, it's just another way of saying we're not taking a maintenance bond. They haven't finished construction,
Okay.
because the final,
But once that development hits 90%, that is considered, they can move forward with final construction.
right, these developers, as soon as they hit 90%
You
density,
need copies of it?
they're gonna be calling and wanting to submit a petition.
Sure.
In other words, they wanna get it off our books as quick as they can.
Yep.
So yes, if we hold them to that, like I say, Christina can get, approval through the lawyer, but I think, I don't think anybody could argue that you're holding the maintenance bond, you're holding a portion of the construction that's not
Construction bond.
complete.
So you guys can work on the language
for that portion of it, but we need to go through the entire policy.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
So initially, the road acceptance policy was kind of vague in terms of it's, well, not vague, but it was actually a little detailed in terms of it said, exactly how the process was gonna go. It said submit a 5-year road resurfacing schedule described within this policy. And then we try to change it up a little bit to what we're currently doing. If we wanna go, right, you have it right there in front of you. If we wanna go through the paragraphs section by section, because I wanna make sure this policy aligns with what the intent of the board is.
And you showed this to Chaplin?
Yes, Chaplin only had issues with what Mike is referring to.
can we just ask the questions we have questions about?
Yeah.
All right, so this third bullet point that starts with once the results, kind of in the middle of that, the sentence starts, this resurfacing schedule will incorporate consideration based on the overall rating of the road, the average score of all roads combined within the subdivision if applicable, and the total occupied housing density, ratio of homes, length of roads to be conducted biannually. So So, and then consideration may also be made for sequencing of paved arrangements and subdivisions. Are we taking into consideration the total occupied housing density?
Yes, that's in that matrix that he just showed you,
Okay.
where it said homes per length of road, and it gave you the percentage, like it said 120%, 75%. That's in that pavement condition survey.
Okay,
So when we bring that back to you all, that's where you'll see it.
okay. Cause okay. 'Cause
Yeah, if you go
it
back,
probably would have helped to have had that, to see that. Okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm fine with having that in there. I just wanted to make sure that that was,
yeah, basically the higher that number is, the better it is.
Okay.
To become a candidate.
okay, and then if you go to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just after the 6th bullet point, there's an asterisk and it's totally lined out. The village refuses the right, I'm sorry, the village reserves the right to refuse the acceptance of street. Why can't we just leave that in there? Can we not refuse, like, to take in a street?
I see it, I was just wondering if they put it somewhere else. I don't know why that was. Unless we put it back somewhere.
Pete? Wait, I just,
Well, I think the wording on that was, with the village participation with money. I think the reason you probably struck it out was if the owner is willing to make the necessary repairs to bring it up to standards, then the village would have it. In other words, if it's, regardless of what repairs are needed, if the owner is prepared to pay for it, to bring it up to standards, then the village wouldn't have a problem taking it.
Which we wouldn't, but why wouldn't we have this sentence in there saying that we reserve the right to refuse any street?
Well, we got it back.
I mean, this way, it's not like, oh, you have to take that. Doesn't say in your road acceptance policy that you. I mean, I don't see any reason why we would take that out.
Well, because it kind of leads you to believe that if the road's in bad shape, the owner has no opportunity, it has no avenue.
But it says require extensive repair work to bring the roads up to current Village of Marvin standards.
Right.
So,
If the owner is prepared to make those repairs,
okay, so then put that in there. But let's not take out the fact that we reserve the right to refuse acceptance of streets. But, I mean, add that in there. If the owner's willing to get it up to standard, then we would be willing to look at it. And I don't think we need to take that first part out.
So, I'll just add it back in there, but I wanted to make reference back to that one bullet point that you had mentioned about the resurfacing schedule will incorporate consideration based on all these things. It doesn't really dictate exactly what the formula is going to be. It just says y'all take all these things.
No, and that's fine. I just didn't have the matrix and I didn't know what the criteria was when I was reading this, I was like, are we doing that? So that was my question.
So we wanted to make it a little, fluid in there so that you
Yeah.
could take all those things into consideration.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that. I just, again, I didn't have the matrix to see what the criteria was.
So it will be in, you'll see it when you get your actual index.
Those were my only two questions.
Going back to bullet point number 3, in the first sentence, once the results from condition survey are presented, in the prescribed year, council shall adopt a multi-year road surfacing schedule to carry out until the next pavement condition survey is conducted. When that next survey, can that change anything that we've already approved if it's conducted and things change with roads?
Absolutely.
So that's gonna,
if you have a phase 2 or another subdivision purchase at the back, yeah, it can change a lot.
even though we've already approved moving forward with something that can change things.
Do you want to add something in there that says that depending on, redoing the pavement condition survey, the results of
Something to the effect of the results of the
scheduling.
The survey, the next survey, if that happens, if the results change it, that gives
Can
us
change.
flexibility
Right.
as a council to
I'm fine with that. Christina, are you
change
good to
that.
add
Does
something
that make
like that?
sense?
Yeah, I'm taking it. The good thing about the way the process works though is we would, for example, if we were gonna do resurfacing this year, AMT would be negotiating the contracts probably November-ish. DOT would let the contracts around this time period. They would start in the summertime. So we would have a good year in advance before we know what's going on, where it's gonna take AMT a good 6 months to do the surveys anyway. So they would be in off years, more than likely, so we would have already established. I'll put some language in there, but the chances of that happening is gonna be very rare.
Okay.
And then, bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It starts with the road addition process shall begin with at least 90%.
Yeah.
The attorney, Mike, and I will work on the language here to get it reflective of both of their concerns,
Okay.
as he's just discussed.
Yeah.
And then, is everybody good on that? And then the next paragraph that starts with acceptance of existing roads. That again, we were pinpointing the 5-year resurfacing schedule. And again, that's gonna be driven by the dollar, not necessarily the need. So I changed that around to have it a multi-year, because I don't know what multi-years means. It could mean 8, it could mean 12.
Okay.
And that would be based on the most recent pavement condition survey, as we've just discussed. And that would be reviewed with the engineer and the cost estimates that were necessary. So try to change that language up a little bit to make it more reflective of what we're doing. Any questions on that? And then on the last page, we added some language in there about having encroachment agreements with utilities.
Okay. And then we're looking at, we're gonna do number 6, the performance bond stuff.
Yes, that's another area that we would make sure Mike and the attorney and I work out. Also wanted to note that we actually included in this policy a full inventory of stormwater drains, culverts, and the as-built for the catch basins, so that we had kind of an inventory of that. We could add it to our list as that comes on board.
Good.
That may be an additional engineering cost that's associated, that hopefully we can go back to the developer when we get to that point, so we can keep our system updated. But we need to look into that for ahead. And I think that's it. So if everybody.
So one thing I noticed from the lawyer, he had questioned putting a time limit on the repairs.
Yes.
You need to let him know that the time limit, we're not holding that developer to make those repairs within 90 days. All we're doing is letting the developer know if they're not completed in 90 days, it'll be reassessed.
So there could be more items.
Right, then he could have something that has failed.
Okay.
And so we're not saying he has to have it done in 90 days, so you can let him know that.
Okay.
If they don't have it done, then it's gonna get reassessed before it's gonna get final.
I'll schedule a meeting with, we could do a conference call and all of us together. We can go over it. And this will be back before one of your next agendas for actual approval.
All right,
I'm good.
no action, we're good?
Yep.
All right, thank you. And, next up we have, based on my changes, discussion of final plat for minor subdivision application number 19-12335, 803B Woodland Forest Drive. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. So here in the audience, we have the applicants. This is a 10-acre tract in the very back of Woodland Forest Drive. And they're proposing to split it into 2 tracts where the current owner would retain the back tract, which would be approximately 8 acres, and they're looking to make the new tract to sell for another owner who is also the other owner who is also here for that up the 2-acre tract on the right. This has been a little bit of a challenging one, but we got to a point where the planning board was able to approve it, and also our attorney made some comments regarding the issue of this. What you can see in the bottom right corner is a right-of-way dedication, because although they do front the public Woodland Forest Drive, they did not have the 50 feet minimum of frontage, so they're going to be dedicating what is a cul-de-sac basically to the public right-of-way, and the attorney has advised that they should pave that before the next time we go over down to Woodland Forest to resurface it, whether that be in 15, 20 years from now. Other than that, this is the normal minor subdivision where both lots would be compliant in general. And so they're looking for their final plat approval today.
All right, Rohit, so the road comes in here,
Right,
and this is paved, right?
yes.
Show me.
Even though it says gravel road?
Yeah, on the plat it says gravel road, but we just paved that like 2 months ago. It was already paved anyway, so it's been paved once and it got paved again, even though the plat says gravel road.
Okay,
It
so
is a
it's,
paved
so
road.
you're coming in here,
Right.
and then the then extended gravel will come down
That,
here.
yes, that's a private driveway that services 2 owners in the back. This is kind of a grandfathered situation.
So is it a private road?
It's not a road, it's a driveway. So here there are 2 parcels in the back that are not connected, and there is an easement for this driveway. The owner of the easement is in the back, and that easement is just for the use of this driveway, which currently is on the deed restriction for the main tract, but will be absorbed by the new tract upon this sale
And
subdivision.
tell me what has to be paved before the next time we pave?
This small square down here, which is actually the cul-de-sac for the street, for the end of Woodland Forest, it's a cul-de-sac, and the
Oh, and
cul-de-sac
then
is
the
not.
drive goes off of that. Okay.
Yeah.
That was so confusing.
That was confusing.
Sorry. Okay, all right. Jeez. That was confusing for you guys too. Huh? All right, sorry. Okay, I got it.
They don't get approval today.
So it's a drive, it's not a street, it's a driveway. And they want
Yeah,
it to be
so-
a gravel driveway, but we're gonna have them pave that
The
cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac, which is the cul-de-sac, but is currently part of the tract right now.
So it wasn't part of the street,
It wasn't
which
part
is
of the
why it
street.
didn't get paved.
Right.
Got it, okay.
So this is the whole thing, I'm trying to figure out, are
Yeah.
they looking for 7 homes in here?
One.
No, one
house,
additional
Joe, right
home.
there.
Oh, okay,
One
okay,
additional
one
home.
additional home. I was like, I don't know why I got 7 in here, I think it was
One
because I was
house,
looking
Joe.
at the 7.
Yeah, so this is currently the house
Okay,
here on the
okay.
10 acres, and we're
Yeah.
looking to make one more home on the
I
2
got it.
acres here.
Okay, and that backs up to what looks to be, I'm trying to think where this is on it says Baltusrol.
Yeah, this is Firethorn here.
It's-
Right.
So it does back up to the back of Firethorn.
Right, but the home doesn't
The
necessarily,
new,
is that land
yeah, the
doesn't
home is
change.
very much in the middle-ish, front-ish part of the property.
So by
But
right,
that's the
they can
existing
do.
house.
Yeah, the existing
So
house.
they're
So
not
by-
even doing anything near there. They're only
Right,
on that
right,
corner.
This is completely.
But by right,
owned up.
what could they do here?
By right, what do you mean?
I mean, this whole piece of land, can they, what, by right is, right now it's just for one, they're just looking for.
Right, they're
one
just looking
more.
for one
Okay,
additional
Okay.
lot.
just trying to get my bearings, where's Medina? And how that site, I'm trying to picture in my mind where that is.
I know right where it is. It's at the house at the back corner, because you looked at that house, and it backs up to that back end of that lot. I know right where it is.
Yeah, I'm confused by what's up there in
Yeah.
Firethorn and all the streets in Shinnecock and where Baltusrol is.
No, so if you go down Medina, it's at and you go straight through the back of Medina, that's their lot.
Okay, I'm trying to think.
It's.
I know, I'm trying to get my bearings where Medina is right
It's,
now.
it's
Is
where
that
Lavelle
inside this?
That's
lives.
where Lavelle is.
It's
Right,
the cor-
that's
that,
what-
that, it's that cul-de-sac street that Lavelle's on the corner of.
Okay, so it's behind that.
It's, if you turn right on that street and
Yeah.
you go straight through that house, it's at the back of that.
It actually
cul-de-sac.
backs up to,
Yeah. All right,
yeah,
so you're trying to-
South Carolina
Okay.
lots too.
Right, you're trying to find this in
Yeah.
relation to Firethorn. So here's Firethorn, and the lot.
There we
Well,
go.
this is Woodland Forest. This is Medina.
There you go.
Yep.
The lot is
There you
right
go.
here.
There we go. You got it, Joe?
Okay.
Okay.
This is satellite view.
Good job, Brohead.
Thanks. Anyway, so that's that cul-de-sac here, and the lot, the house, the current house is right here, and then they're looking to build a new house right
Okay.
in this area here,
Yep. And,
Cool.
out of this drive.
okay, so back in here, didn't we do an approval back in here a couple of years ago?
I don't know.
Seemed to be, remember, there's a farm back in here, you put a building.
Yeah, these people and these people have the access, the easement for this. Google Maps says that it's a road, but legally it's not a road. It's a driveway.
So Rohit, it's gonna be basically right where that woodland fort, right there.
Yes,
Okay.
it's gonna be right here.
All right.
And like I said, this Google Maps has always said that this is part of the road, but legally it's
Can you
not.
show me the actual satellite?
Yeah,
view
sure.
Again. And zoom back out. I'm just, and that, there's Newtown.
Yeah,
So that's,
there's Newtown Road. It's the last neighborhood before the state line.
okay, I think I've taken, I'm trying to think which road goes back in, that gets back into the maintenance, behind the maintenance. I'm trying to think what road that is.
That's all the way back here, you're thinking.
Where is
It's in
that?
South Carolina.
Yeah.
This one.
It's not Ralph Hood Road.
It's not?
No. It's off of Newtown Road.
All right.
And it's a little road that takes you
That
back.
doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm just looking, I'm getting my bearings.
Lord,
Thank you.
Educated decision. Not that I even have a
you
decision.
really
We don't
don't.
have a decision today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
What's
right.
everybody else?
What?
There is no approval today.
That's it.
Right.
The educated, you said educated,
Barbie
that to
wants-
everybody else.
Yeah.
No.
Barbie wants to note that today, if you remember for the Jackson subdivision, it was discussed in the work session and it was put on the consent agenda for the next meeting.
Oh, okay, because it says
You know,
consider
do it like that.
approval.
No.
Does it
it's-
really?
There's no
Okay,
action
it's not
today.
meant to consider approval, sorry.
Okay.
Are you through with this?
Any
Well,
other?
Well,
yeah, I
should
think
we
so.
talk about it? So we know to put it on the consent agenda?
Yes,
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 of course.
we'll
Yeah,
talk
that's-
about it.
Okay,
There's no
so-
action tonight.
I mean, I'm good. I'd
You wanna
approve
make
it
any
today.
comments? If you-
Barbie would let me.
Sorry.
Barbie.
Any questions or?
Nope.
No.
Good to go?
No.
Okay.
Put it on the consent
So we
agenda.
make a motion to put that on the consent
Yes.
agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to put the
I'll tell you.
final plat for minor subdivision application number 19-12335-803B Woodland Forest Drive on the consent agenda for the February 11th meeting.
So essentially for the applicants, putting it on the consent agenda will basically, we can't really make decisions in work session meetings. That's kind of our rule, so they have to be done at regular session. So it's on the consent agenda, that usually just gets approved unless something were to come up between now and then that threw everything off, which we don't expect. So consent agendas usually get approved. And so it's essentially we're talking, discussing, so we're not taking much time talking, discussing at the regular meeting, and we already know that we have approval for that, so it's good news for you, pretty much.
Okay, so we're set, we were hoping to close on this property on the 13th of February.
You should have the
And you
approval
should be
on
You
the
should have the, yeah.
Okay,
You'll have
so-
the approval.
So what's the procedure if it's approved on the 11th and we already have our attorney set ready to go? What has to happen from the 11th to the 13th for this to be able to be purchased?
Probably get
Yeah,
something
we
from
have to-
Rohit,
We have
send
to
it,
record the.
and I'll sign it that night. So there's a document that I believe I need to sign.
Yeah, you'll need to sign the subdivision plat.
So just make sure before I leave, I sign that, or once we approve that consent agenda, that I have it
Right.
signed.
And since that meeting's in the evening, you'll have to take that to the county on the 12th, basically, to record
Got to go
it.
to the county.
Yeah, to record it.
Okay.
So yeah, just have it recorded.
So the county has to record it before, like the attorney can't record it, like when at closing the attorney?
Well, the county, the register of deeds will have to record it so that it can become a new parcel.
Okay, so
In
the
order to
attorney
buy
can't
it.
do that all at the same time? Like the attorney can't record it under our name because
Ask
you
your
guys
attorney,
approved it?
ask your
Yeah.
attorney.
That's what she's planning to do, so I'm just making sure that.
Yes.
And she could probably do that.
Well-
Well, you have to record the plat as well as the deed.
Correct.
Right.
I would just confirm that with your attorney.
Yeah,
We're
I
not
would-
gonna-
I
we're
would
not gonna give you
confirm.
legal advice on that.
Yeah, we're not attorneys, so we can't.
I don't know if
pass
that
on
can be
legal.
done simultaneously, but I would think you would need the parcel before you can purchase the parcel.
Okay.
The approval, and it
Yeah.
has to go through that process.
I would concur.
And then
Anyway.
you can come the next day and we can give you whatever copies you need if you just let us know what.
Or actually,
what
you can
copies
come
you
that
need.
night if you want, and then if you have the document ready and the consent agenda,
Oh, yeah,
once
you
we
can just
approve
give it
the
to you
consent
that night.
agenda, that is usually done
Like, yeah.
early at the
Yeah.
meeting. I sign it, I'll have the document there, we'll have it, I'll hand it to you.
But Mayor, that would mean you would need to stop the meeting and sign it.
Yep.
Okay.
Do that.
Just for a point of order, the motion's on. the
I know, I
table.
was gonna say, we've got a
Yeah.
motion on the table.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well,
You're missing
we're
a,
missing a council member, so. You should have some breakfast.
But what can we sign him up for?
I know. Think it's so fast.
well, technically you don't have to
You
wait
leave
on
again,
him.
we're gonna volunteer you.
Oh, no, not again.
Technically you don't have to wait on him because
Yeah,
it's,
I know.
that's
It's
an automatic,
okay.
yes.
All right.
So we have a motion on the table, which Kim just said, further discussion, all's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right.
Congrats. And we'll see you hopefully, the 11th, the night 11th, if you wanna get it that night.
Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Can we take a 5-minute bio break?
Yeah, there you go. No, let's vote something. Let's vote something.
I make a motion, to take a 5-minute recess.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.